Welcome to 2 Minutes of Gaming, where we talk about the top video game topics of the month for 2 minutes at a time. I'm your host, Keenan, and today I'm joined by
Justin. This is the last 2 minutes of gaming of the year. How's everybody doing?
And you know what, Justin? We're going to change it up like we do every year. Well, we did this last year. It was only our second Christmas show, I guess. But we're going to go over, instead of going over news topics and ranting and raving and all that stuff, we wanted to talk positive about our favorite, not even the top. We're going to say it like this: our favorite 5 games of 2020. And we're going to go in order. And then speaking of rants and raves, Justin actually has a epic rant about Cyberpunk. And I know for those who don't know about Cyberpunk, we're going to talk more about that later. But for those who do know, it's going to be epic. So stay tuned for that. Mm-hmm. But Justin, let's start it out. Let's start it out with our top 5 games of 2020. 2 minutes on the clock, Justin. What's your number 5?
My number 5, the one I actually love playing, and I still play it to this day, is the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake.
Okay.
It's a game I played as a kid, as a young teen during the PlayStation 1 era, and the way they remade this was just great, from graphics to gameplay, combining all the best elements in the series and giving us something that was just with a new fresh coat of paint. And I really, really appreciated that. It's still, I think it was very overlooked when it came to like some of the best game of the year type of things. But from a sports element, I say it's really up there in the conversation with 2K, because it just really captured the skating scene again, and it just really felt good to have that skating game right back into the fold. So definitely I would say Tony Hawk Pro Skater was my number 5 choice.
Listen, that's a great choice. I actually thought about buying that game, but I never really got the original. But one game that I did get the original, and I've had all of the original games of it, even 3, was Streets of Rage 4. Now, let me just kind of let people know, a little rewind a little bit. I think there were 2 or 3 developers that collaborated on this project. This game, Justin, was so good. I actually went on my Cybe Gaming Instagram account and DM'd one of the developers and said, "You guys killed it." That's how impressed I was. Not only, like we talked about a little bit just now, part 3 was so bad. They didn't know how to follow up 1 and 2. 4 fixed all the problems, Justin. I was so shocked. We seen clips and we seen, little art, and, we didn't really know if they were going to really capture the essence of Streets of Rage when you talk about music, gameplay, cool art. And then they brought the old school characters back. The new characters were great as well, Justin. I thought they were going to be garbage. They were great as well.
Very much.
Even though Axel wasn't what we thought he was, they allowed so much replay value, Justin, by allowing you to unlock the old Axels, which we all love.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So, number 4, Justin, 2 minutes on the clock. What's your number 4 game?
Well, let me just piggyback off of what you've been saying, because my number 4 is Streets of Rage 4. No pun intended, but kind of intended. And I really thought, once again, most of my picks are nostalgia picks. And it was just so nostalgic just to be back in that city, being back in that spirit of Streets of Rage. I thought they captured that very, very well while introducing us to new characters, even giving us references to characters we hate, like that blasted kangaroo. He was in there as a cameo, which I thought was pretty cool. Nice callbacks. You get to, like, the more you play it, it's very challenging too, especially on the harder levels. Mm-hmm. And you get callbacks to Skate, Axel, Blaze, everybody. It's just a very brilliant game with a new coat of paint, like I said, with Tony Hawk. Great new graphics with it, and I'm really hoping that we get a 5.
Yeah, same. My game, Last of Us 2. Now I know some people are probably like, "What the? Why isn't this?"
Yeah, I take a drink for that.
Why isn't this game number 1? It's just one game of the year and a Game Awards. Blah blah. Listen. It is number 4. Let me just address the negative real quick. That is a horrific story. That storyline is horrible. All right, I'm sorry to break it to you. Part 1 story was way better. And the main reason why it's number 4 and not number 1 or not number 2 or not number 3 is because that they pushed their agenda on us every chance they get. If you want to hear about gay rights, legalization of weed, and what was the last topic? Then you'll be able to enjoy that game. Justin, it gets to the point, and I'm going to go a little over some of this because I didn't talk about the positives. But yesterday I was playing it, right? And then I shot this dog. And I thought to myself, there's no way they're going to let me kill this dog because I'm sure there's going to be an animal rights message coming up in this game pretty soon. But when I shot the dog, I killed him. I was shocked they let me kill a dog in the game, Justin. That's how pro everything this game is. But underneath all of that nonsense is a great game. The gameplay is great. They put a lot of effort into it. And let me just clarify before we go to number 3. I am not against those things that they are advocating for. The problem with it is that you don't shove your ideals down my throat in a video game. That's the problem with it, but it is a great game overall. Number 3, Justin, who you got?
I got Spider-Man Miles Morales. And I know from my review, I wasn't as praising it as much as everybody else was because I still think it is just a DLC, but it's one hell of a DLC. And I absolutely love the story, love the production, especially that soundtrack. I had that soundtrack. That music is off the charts. The combination of hip-hop and orchestra music fits perfectly. Gameplay is very much improved, and everything is organic. Just to piggyback what you were saying with Last of Us by doing the ideologies, this one made it organic, so you don't feel like it's being shoved down your throat. It's in the progression of the story, which I thought worked very, very well. And we had a really good villain. Was it predictable? Yes, but it's still a solid experience. I highly recommend this one. Definitely deserving of the top 3 spot of my favorite for 2020.
Let me tell you something. And to let people know, the next 3 games, Justin and I agree. And so this is my top 3 game as well. The number one reason why this is my top 3 game, Justin, is that it is so much goddamn fun. This game, whenever I would play Justin, I would be like, all right, one more mission. I would just keep playing it. I just never wanted to stop playing. And then when I would stop, I would think to myself, okay, I got to carve out some time today to play it tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, you just obsessed with playing it. It got to the point, Justin, where I got 100%. And I'm not the only person that I know that I got 100%. The game is that much fun. The last thing I'll say is they did what Last of Us tried to do. Again, they promoted a great message without shoving it, like you said, Justin, down our throats. But at the same time, too, the thing that was really impressive, Justin, was that they captured the inner city of New York. You really felt like I'm in Spanish Harlem. I'm in regular Harlem. I'm in the hood. Spider-Man's wearing Timbs. Spider-Man's wearing Timbs. Next topic. Number 2, Justin. Who's your number 2 game?
This is going to shock folks. That is not my number 1. Final Fantasy VII Remake is my number 2. Wow. And mainly because of the story. If they didn't change the story up, it would have been my number 1. So, but it's a brilliant game nonetheless. Gameplay is way more improved. I prefer this gameplay than the original, believe it or not. I thought the graphics was spectacular. The music production is always amazing. Just to hear my favorite themes in classical orchestrated mode is just absolutely amazing. Like I said, there's just some elements in the story that just kind of hindered it and try to make it overly complex when it didn't need to be. It should have just been a simple copy and paste when it comes to the story. I know it's a remake, but don't deviate too much to the point that you're alienating the original fans, which I feel like this one did, especially with the time raids. So, yeah, that's why it's my number 2 and not my number 1, but still a solid experience, still highly recommend it, still one of the best of 2020.
Justin, this is one of my favorite games in the last 5 years. I love this game, and I agree with you. Final Fantasy VII, for those who is my number 2 as well. I love that gameplay. I was first kind of apprehensive, like when I played the demo, I was like, okay, I enjoyed the demo, but I was actually worried that that battle style wouldn't translate well to boss battles, but it did. It was perfect. I was obsessed with upgrading every little thing, Justin, that you can upgrade in that game. The fact that each battle, if you exploit their weaknesses, it made the battle way more fluid. I was obsessed with learning every person, every enemy's weakness to the point, Justin, where I started to memorize it. I started to think to myself, oh, I played it before. This is what it is. That was a game, Justin, when I beat it, I actually kept playing because I didn't want it to end. Final Fantasy VII, if you haven't played it, download it now. The original and the remake. Number one, Justin. Who got the number one game of 2020? Your favorite game for you?
Animal Crossing. Believe it or not, folks, Animal Crossing is probably the most played game I've done in 2020. It has consumed me at a point until Final Fantasy VII came out, and then after that, I went straight back to Animal Crossing. The thing about this is that the fact that just from the original concept of the original Animal Crossing, it's real time. It's winter here, so it's winter holiday season in Animal Crossing. Right now, I'm trying to build a snowman. Right now, I'm getting gifts for my neighbors, and it's just a blast to this day. Everything. I mean, there's a reason why this game. I think did it reach $1 billion set? Like it grossed $1 billion. This thing went end game level when it came to sales. Like, come on, it had to be. Truthfully, to me, it is Game of the Year, not The Last of Us 2. This should have been Game of the Year for all awards. Just the impact, the culture, what it's able to do just from a public standpoint, publicity standpoint. It nailed every single checkbox here. And credit to Nintendo, man. Animal Crossing definitely number one.
Animal Crossing number one by far. I don't know what other game, website, or show that is pandering to a developer or whatever. Animal Crossing is the game of the year. One of the top games of the decade. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. When we look at COVID, what happened? It was unknown what was happening right in this world. Everyone went on lockdown, but people who had Animal Crossing was able to escape, and we were in another world. Justin, I literally every day during COVID woke up. The first thing I did was I had to check. Well, not the first thing, but one of the first things I did in the morning was to check on Animal Crossing, make sure I pick my weeds, make sure I plant my flowers, make sure that, I was even downloading, you saw the jerseys and stuff I had. I had every throwback jersey you could think of in there. I started downloading fitted hats, all type of stuff. So Queen's shirts, all that was in the game. So all that being said, if you go to my town now, you'll see a Mets flag. You know what I'm saying? The amount of customization, but also they really stepped it up. They brought everyone together. I'll tell this quick story before we move on. One of my bosses at my job, Justin, I didn't even know that he played Animal Crossing. Somehow it came out. We started talking about Animal Crossing. This guy invited me over to, this is during COVID, to an Animal Crossing, this sounds really nerdy to say, but I'm just keeping it real, Animal Crossing party. It was him and it was like 8 of us, whatever how many the max was. And we all switched furniture and gave out furniture to each other. That's why I had all the cool furniture. And he would say, he would have these parties all the time. Like there was such a community in Animal Crossing, whether it was me, you, and Ashley. Shout out to Ryan as well. Shout out to Ashley as well. Visiting each other's towns, really seeing how each of our towns were so different. That experience, Justin, Animal Crossing shook up the world. And it made $1 billion in like 3 or 4 months. So I'm not just sitting here just blabbing about nothing. This is a game that is hard to explain to people, but it's a game that you just have to own, and you'll see why. Game of the year.
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to sit back. Freestyle round. I don't have a rank this, but I know somebody who does. So, Justin, what you want to spend your freestyle round on?
All right, we got to address Cyberpunk 2077 right now. Developed by CD Projekt Red. For those who are not in the know, this is the most hyped game of the entire past 2 years. 3 or 4 or 5 years. Screw that. This game has been hyped to death. Everybody's been waiting for this game. So, against my better judgment, I should have learned from No Man's Sky. I didn't learn. I decided to purchase the game. Because, I was like, all right, let me see what the hype's about. This game is broken. There are glitches galore. It constantly crashes. And it's broken. Let me correct it. It's broken on the PS4 and Xbox One. PC people have problems, but not as bad as the owners of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And as you can see from the footage that I provided Keenan here, you can see that the guy's face doesn't load until I get close to it. It's just disgusting how badly this glitch is. And in 2020, that's unacceptable, especially when you have the technology, you have beta testers. So CD Projekt Red issued out a Twitter statement saying, we apologize, you guys, we should have spent more time on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions. We are going to be releasing patches in the next 7 days, and then a patch in January and 2 more patches in February or something like that. So basically, you're going to have to wait to practically March to get the experience. And they had the nerve to say that, yeah, we're going to fix some of the texture issues. It won't be of PlayStation 5 quality or PC quality, but it'll be just enough so you can, it can feel like it's PlayStation 4 level. Huh? Then they said, if you're not satisfied with the game, you can get a refund. So I tried to contact folks at Sony and said, hey, here I am talking to this bot, this automated message that says, hey, you can get your refund in the 14 days. And the rules for Sony is you can get your refund in 14 days if you didn't download it. Okay. But they said if you didn't download it, but if you did download it and the game is faulty, which this game is, and especially from the developers, they said you can get your refund. You get your refund back. Sony is not issuing refunds out. Some people got lucky, but a lot of us, most of us, didn't. This is going to be the last time I buy a game day one, unless it's developers I trust, such as, and I can tell you straight up right now, it's Square Enix. And it has to be an RPG because we've seen what happened with the Avengers. That's another thing.
And Tomb Raider.
Yep, and the Tomb Raider. It has to be a Final Fantasy game or the developer that I trust the most, Nintendo, because I know for a fact Nintendo plays the hell and beta tests the hell out of their games before they go gold. I have not played. I mean, yes, I'm not saying Nintendo doesn't have glitches and times like that, but I guarantee you, if there's something game breaking, Nintendo comes with the quickness and fixes it real quick. Especially if it's their original IPs, such as Zelda and Mario, all those original IPs that they develop. You're gonna get your quality. At least you're gonna make sure they're gonna make sure that their game is running properly. I never had an issue with Nintendo. But yeah, this is the last time I'm giving into these hype games and things like that. Like, it's at that point now where I'm getting sick and tired of this trend of, oh, we can just patch it up later. We give you a day one patch. Day one patches shouldn't be existing, period. There should be no such thing as a day one patch. Your game should be ready to go and functioning, especially if you're paying $60. I don't understand how some of these gamers is out there not as outraged or saying, oh, you just need to get better hardware. That's not the point. The point is, I pay $60, I'm expecting a certain quality. And could you imagine if I spent the special edition $100? I will be even more pissed. But I never buy special edition stuff anyway, so it don't make no sense. But that's my rant. Like, it's at that point, man. And I'm starting to see a trend here. A lot of these developers are getting so lazy. They're selling us broken games, making us beta testers, and just going, oh, we'll patch it up later. It shouldn't be like that. So we're going to have to start talking, gamers, we're going to have to start talking with our wallets, because that's the only way people in the system's going to change. That's my rant.
Their stock fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just to let people know, I totally agree, Justin. I talked to you about this off air. Totally agree with you. My rant will be even longer in a year, so I'm not even going to go into it. But I totally agree. And I just want to say, CD Projekt Red, y'all should be ashamed of yourself, and y'all developers who are y'all fans who are worshiping these developers just because they made a good game, one good game. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself too. Hey, good luck. I'm not supporting them no more. But on a positive note, I just want to give, before I throw it back to you, Justin, I just want to give props to these 3 games who didn't make my list. Honorable mentions of the games of the year. 3 games that I really enjoyed. Believe it or not, Resident Evil 3. I think if that game didn't come after part 2, which shook up the world, which was our game of the year last year, just remember part 2. If 3 didn't come out after that, then we wouldn't have, or the year before, whenever it was, then we would have been worshiping this game. That's how great part 3 is. So part 3 is a great game. Trials of Mana is a game that nobody talks about. They did a lot of things right. I really am enjoying this game. I'm almost done with it. I'm really loving it. It's a game that I can just throw on anytime. One of my newer games that I haven't even beaten enough, and maybe when I do beat it, maybe I would have thought this should be a top 5 game, is Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. Great game. It's a prequel, like I said, to Breath of the Wild, but not as good as obviously as Breath of the Wild. It is a bit of a button smasher, but great graphics. Not that much slowdown as the demo. They passed that up, and overall, it's a really fun experience. So, what's your honorable mentions, Justin?
Sakura Wars, RPG from Sega. I really enjoyed it. I played the first one on GameCube, so this was a nice way to get back into that world. I thought it was pretty cool. Resident Evil 3 Remake, another honorable mention. I thought that's a solid remake, but a little bit too short for my liking, and they took some assets out that I would like to see more puzzles that, at least the Clock Tower one I thought was would have been nice to have. Believe it or not, G.I. Joe Operation Blackout, I give definitely that honorable mention. That is probably the best G.I. Joe game, because well, then again, it hasn't been that much good G.I. Joe games besides the arcade, so that's not saying much, but it's a very average shooter, third-person shooter, but it's still fun to play. Even though this game came out years ago, but they did release a definitive version for the Switch. I'm gonna say Xenoblade Definitive Edition. Definitely an honorable mention, really good. And Visage, which is the best horror game I've played in a very, very long time. So definitely all those games to check out, folks.
They're really good games. Before we get out of here, I just want to go over one last thing. It's the Christmas spirit, last show of the year. I wanted to just go over some memorable Christmas moments, maybe one of your favorite Christmas video game moments. I'll start it off, Justin. I'm going to bring it back to 1994. And that was the first time, Justin, where I really fell in love with video games and really became a gamer, so to say. That Christmas, I was really fortunate. My mother got me Sonic and Knuckles, which I already had Sonic 3, so I was able to put it on top. And then my older brother, got NBA Live 95. And so the combination of those two games, Justin, I wound up playing game after game over and over and over. The next Christmas, 1995, so old I am, I decided not to get any games. I wanted to get clothes. And I remember getting clothes, and I opened them up, and I was excited. And then I remember I was like, okay, I can't do anything now. Like, I could wear the clothes when I go back to school in 2 weeks, but I can't play a video game like I was doing the year before. So from that year on, I got video games every Christmas, and I just became a gamer. So Christmas in 1994, one of the best Christmases ever for me. It really brought me into this video game world. So Justin, what was one of your favorite Christmas video game moments?
I would have to say me and my brother getting the Sega Genesis. That was pretty damn cool. We got the Sega Genesis. I remember it. We knew it was coming. So it was just like this box. You can tell it's like it's a video game system in there. And I think this one had the Sonic with it. We had Sonic the Hedgehog with it. And I remember me and him was taking turns with that. And we also, because I remember my uncle C got us the Batman game as well. So we got the Batman and we had Sonic. Those are like our first 2 Sega games. So those were just some really good times. And I remember we played that thing till Sega got hot. Like our Sega was burning hot. That's how long we played that thing, man. But yeah, those are some good times.
Nice. All right, well, people, thank you so much for listening, and not only Merry Christmas, but a Happy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa as well. Happy holidays, and anything last words, Justin?
Not much, folks. Just Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever you celebrate, enjoy. Be safe out there. Be smart. Be vigilant. and keep an open mind. Later days.
Yep. See you 2021.